more important than any of these interviews, really, I would say, I think all of us would agree, is I mentioned this at the top of the last show, and people have known about it now for really since December 21st. But I'm sure they'd rather hear your take on it than mine. And that's on Wednesday, December 21st, 2022. The president signed into law H.R. 310, which posthumously awards the Congressional Gold Medal collectively to Glen Doherty, Tyrone Woods, J. Christopher Stevens, and Sean Smith in recognition of their contributions to the nation. Thank you to Representative Stephen Lynch, Senator Edward Markey, and many others for their leadership. So yeah, that was the press release.
Appreciate that, and you know, Senator Markey, this was a bipartisan pass, which was awesome, and I love that. And I'll be quite honest, I am completely happy that no major media, none of them picked it up. None of them, not one of them, not even you Fox lovers out there, not even Fox picked it up. But I think that is awesome, because if one of them would have, whether it was CNN, MSNBC.
Well, I just want to make sure. I think they ran the story, but they weren't doing a ton of interviews.
I didn't see it, but you might be right. But again, I don't watch it. I just got on the old Google. I Googled it. I just got on the loop and I searched, you know, Tyrone Woods, Glen Doherty Gold Medal. And usually those mainstream outlets will pop up first. And I didn't see one of them. So you could be right, dude. And I could be wrong, guys. Regardless, though, it did not turn into a partisan issue, which it never should have been. Hey, we were part of that as well, guys. You can blame me. Hey, Tanto, you were, yeah, we did. We made it down the line, not at the beginning, but down the line, we allowed ourselves to get pushed into that. And that's our fault. There's no other fault but ours. So what I'd like to say on this, though, it wasn't, and that shouldn't be, because it shouldn't be Democrat or Republican issue. It's two heroes, and Sean Smith and Ambassador Stevens, heroes in their own right. Granted, though, you know, Bob and Woods were fighting with me and fighting the whole night. So I did get to see and witness their heroism. Is that it was the heroic actions, which should have been honored a long time ago. But, you know, we recorded our episode with John earlier, so we're coming back to this now. He did put it in perspective, and I like what he said. He said, you know, some Medal of Honors winners, it may be 50 years down the line, or we have guys like Alwyn C. Cash, who I wrote about in the Patriots Creed, who got it, you know, many years after, got the Medal of Honor many years after. Now these guys got the gold medal, let me clarify, which is a civilian equivalent of the Medal of Honor. He put in perspective, like, really 10 years really isn't that long in comparison to some other people that got it from Vietnam War. And I liked when he said that. I know he didn't mention it during the interview, but looking back, like, man, he put it in perspective. So he made it really wasn't that long that it took them to get the gold medal. And I'm glad they did. It was well deserved. They should have. They should have got it day one, but in my opinion, because their actions were completely heroic and sacrificing themselves. I did talk to Cheryl Bennett, who is Tyrone's mom, and she was a little disappointed that the major media didn't mention as much as she thought they should have. And as a mother, I can't relate as being a mother, but as a father, I get that. But she was extremely happy, and so was Kate Quigley, which is Glen Doherty's sister. Extremely happy, and really happy that Cheryl Bennett and Kate Quigley were out there pushing this to get this done, because they are two main reasons why they got this thing through, because they were pushing their congresspeople in Massachusetts, and then Tyrone's from Oregon, their congressmen and women in Oregon, to get this through. And so, thank you to Kate and also the Doherty family and Kate Quigley and also Cheryl Bennett. Thank you for doing this, because they're the ones that got this done. And it says a lot of their family and their character and the love that they had and they still have for Tyrone and Glen. And I'm glad, I'm glad Ambassador Stevens and I'm glad that Sean Smith were able to obtain that as well. What they didn't fight alongside of us, but they were there, and they were there putting their lives on the line every day, like a great ambassador, like Ambassador Stevens did, and like Sean Wood being part of the diplomatic Department of State. So, yeah, I'm not going to say anything political about this because it doesn't need to be. It was solely the reputation and the honor that has been bestowed on Glen Doherty and Tyrone Woods and Ambassador Kris Stevens and Sean Smith. I'm going to say, yeah, about fucking time. And I'm glad they got it. And and it's extremely well deserved. And for those that don't know the movie or don't know the story of Benghazi, or the movie did a damn good job. I thought it did an excellent job portraying that. So if you're not a book reader and you don't want to go read about what happened, which is spot on because we wrote the damn thing 13 hours, watch the movie and you can see those heroic actions. And every time I watch it, it's harder for me to watch now. It reminds me of how heroic Tyrone was and how heroic Glen was, and their intestinal fortitude and how they persevered and sacrificed themselves so that I could come home. So I'm completely, it's completely well-deserved. And I'm glad it finally got through, and God bless Kate Quigley and the Doherty family, and God bless Miss Cheryl Bennett and, you know, Charles Woods as well. But especially Cheryl, I still stay in touch with her at least 3 times a year.
We got to get her on at some point.
Awesome.
We still have.
Yeah, we need to get. She will. She's amazing, and also I'm happy for Patty Smith, who we've had on the show. She was like one of our early episodes, and also I don't know anybody from Ambassador Stevens' family, but if they happen to listen to this, or you know, if they're out there, I'm very happy that he was able to get the medal as well, because it was well deserved because of all the work he's done over the years, and still willing to risk his life going into Benghazi, Libya with virtually no security, which he deserved, and still went anyway because he believed in the mission of helping the Libyan people. And he really, he epitomized what patriotism is. So did Sean Smith and Glen and Tyrone. So yeah, that's my take on it, man. And all the senators out there, both sides, Markey and Lynch especially, thank you. And for those that don't know, you can go back. There's a website if you want to go. Cheryl Bennett, and Ty's mom sent it to me. I don't know which, I think it was from the bill. You can go down, and if you really want to get into politics of it, go down, and it shows all the co-sponsors of the bill. Okay. And you can have, I mean, you got everybody from Richard Blumenthal, which some of you guys don't like. He sponsored,
the senator in Connecticut. Yeah.
He co-sponsored the bill. But you also, you know, people that where's a prominent,
and I will throw out there, I know, you know, we've spoken about him before in the stolen valor thing. However, he is a veteran. He's a veteran. Exaggerated his service, but he's a veteran.
And that's it. But he co-sponsored it. But you also had on the other side the Ted Cruz on the other side. So all you guys on the left, that he co-sponsored it as well. So it really was, to me.
It should be a no-brainer.
It should be, and that's what Cheryl said, and that's what Cheryl Bennett said, and Katie Quigley said on their interviews. Watch some of their interviews. Said this should have been a no-brainer, and it was. I'm glad it was done as a bipartisan effort. And you know what? I have no problem that it was Biden that signed it. I'm glad it got signed. I don't care who signed it. I'm glad it got signed, and that these guys are honored as they should be. So.
Yeah,
there you go. There it is.
I was looking down at my phone as you were speaking, not because I wasn't.
No. Go ahead.
What you were saying, but the reason I was thinking of this is because when you were talking about the bipartisan stuff, I remembered that Sean Lake wrote a comment that I think people should hear on our Instagram. One of our followers wrote, "I think this is great. Just very curious why an anti-gun Democrat from Massachusetts would sponsor this bill in the first place." And then what Sean Lake wrote, I think, was perfect. He wrote, Glen Doherty was born and raised in Massachusetts. We, his family, and I worked with countless members of Congress to get this passed over the last decade. They were there to support the initiative from the very start. Patriotism over politics? ? So I think, you know, you could be the most adamant anti-gun guy and still think that Glen Doherty and Ty Woods are heroes.
They are, right? Man, Sean, and I should have mentioned Sean too, because Sean was huge in getting this done. Thank you, Sean Lake, out there, and for doing that, because he was. I always said it was always politics for patriots whenever I went on shows, and I still believe that in most cases. But in this case, it was done correctly. It was patriots over politics. So,
but all the, you know, you're not wrong though, because it's all these years later, and if it didn't get done when Benghazi was in the news cycle, because it would have made certain politicians look bad. And it's been 10 years, and people, I don't want to say don't care. This is not the major thing in the news cycle. We're talking about Ukraine. It's ironic that we're recording on January 6th because we've been talking about that nonstop. And I feel like Benghazi is no longer part of the news cycle, so they were safe to do it at this time. That's the only thing political I'll say.
And I don't think that's not political. That's just comments. That's just how that's how disgusting our freaking media is. I think when anyone is given the Medal of Honor, or honestly giving the Congressional Gold Medal correctly for doing something heroic, it should always be top story, because that is what America is about. It's about those that are willing to give their lives for others so we can have and live the lives that we enjoy, the freedoms that we have to be even stupid as hell sometimes, but we still are given that freedom with very little repercussion. And it's guys like Tyrone and Glen that enabled us to continue to have those freedoms. So news cycle or not, hey, media out there, kiss my ass. It doesn't make a difference if it was Tyrone or Glen or somebody else. If it was a heroic action and it deserved that Medal of Honor or the Congressional Gold Medal for sacrificing your lives to save others, that should be top stories, and that's what people should see. And as we talked to John, we talked about idolizing the wrong people. This is the people that we should be idolizing right here, not somebody else that doesn't deserve that's going to get that news story.
Would you? I just, because I say the same thing later on in the interview, but to me, would you really use the term idolize though? Because I just wonder, like, I'm not a Christian, right? But I am a person
but false idols. You're right.
But I agree. I think that if the only person you should idolize as a Christian, for example, would be Jesus Christ
and God.
Because
no false idols.
I would say I've heard plenty of stories of Glen Doherty that were like wild nights out, right? Like, he wasn't a perfect individual, because none of us are.
None of us are.
But I think you could really you could not worship, whatever, you could really love those attributes without making him a Jesus Christ figure, because
you're right. And that's what I guess we in today's society, we use the term idolize too easily. And you're right. No, it's what a commandment is. No false idol. We don't have false idols. You're completely correct. So I think the correct word would be emulate those attributes, those positive attributes.
I agree.
And you're perfectly right, because I am even out there. You even see me on Instagram, no false idols. And because you're spot on. So let me retract that. Idolize, we use that term too easily now. These are people that we should emulate their especially for their actions that they conducted on themselves on 9/11, 2012 and 9/12, 2012. Those actions should be emulated and put up on a pedestal, not a sports figure, not somebody that wants to switch their genders. That's not.
But I guess look, my perspective is there's like attributes of different people that you could really love, whether they're in the military or they're a sports figure. You could really love Michael Jordan's passion to win, to become the greatest. But I agree with you. Is he putting his life on the line for the country? Is he saving people? Is he having to kill people in defense of the country? Of course not. So we're all individuals, and I think that I that's, if I'm making any point, coherent point, hopefully that's what I'm getting at.
I guess when we say emulate the attributes that they showed that night, and that should be put out there. But who did I want to be and who did I emulate because of the way he played? I loved watching sports growing up. I grew up during the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, Tony Dorsett, Roger Staubach. I had a picture of Dr. J on my door. Dr. J played with class. He played hard. He played tough, but he played with humility. So to say that I didn't emulate or want to be like a sports figure growing up, I'd be wrong. I'd be lying to you. I still got my old Dr. J poster where he's going up like this, ready to dunk a ball. But you're right. There are attributes we can pull from it, but it doesn't seem like in today's society that we pull those kind of attributes. It's LeBron James making a statement about Jerry Jones being at a clan, not a clan, but being at 14 years old, standing as they're desegregating a school in Alabama. And what year was that? 1930? Honestly, I could give a shit what LeBron James says anyway, but that's the kind of stuff they put up on the sports figure shit anymore. It's not the hard work ethic that Michael Jordan had, that he didn't start even till he was a junior at his high school. He played JV ball. I know those because I grew up. I grew up in that passion because I was an athlete in college, and I played football in college, and that sort of positivity you get from the athletes. Yeah, I saw that. I took that into special operations. I did.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. We don't do that enough like we used to, like with the Dr. J's and the Michael Jordans and the Roger Starbucks and the Tony Dorsetts, and we make these sports figures and we ask them political questions.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could even say with me, not sports figures, right? Like when I listen to Joe Rogan or when I grew up listening to Howard Stern, like there's certain attributes that I was like, man, if I'm going to be in this business, I want to take this or this from them. Are they idols? Are they like, no. They have certain attributes that I'm like, man, they're great at this.
Yeah.
I want to put this into my repertoire as a person. So I guess that's my only point with that. But what I will say is it's fantastic that the bill has finally been passed. What's going to happen? Do you even know, like with the ceremony, when is all that going to go down? Or are we going to see family members there?
I don't know. I'm sure they'll be invited.
Are you going to be invited?
No,
do you think?
If I am, no, I doubt it. And honestly, Ian, no disrespect for the family, no disrespect for Ty or Glenn. I don't want to be around any of that. Not because of them. I can't. I don't want to go to DC. I don't want to be around politicians. I don't want to be around that cesspool.
Even if I'm just wondering hypothetically, even if the families say, "Hey, Kris, we really want you to be there."
If Cheryl Bennett asked, yeah, of course I would.
Okay, yeah,
of course I would. But I'd be gone right after because my hypocrisy only goes so far. But of course, if Katie, I haven't talked to Katie in many, many years, but I used to talk to her quite often back when I was doing a lot of the interview, and she's a wonderful person as well. I forgive me, Glenn also has a brother who's I forget his name off the top of my head today, but he's a tremendous individual. Yeah, Google, and he's a great guy. We actually did a couple of interviews with him when the movie came out, and I thought he was a great guy.
Is it Greg Doherty?
Greg, I think that Greg.
Yeah, it says older brother.
Yeah, great guy. So if the families did, but that would be the only way. It wouldn't be if a politician or hey, no, fuck you. See, eat shit. I'm not going. But if the families, if Cheryl or Patty's or Pat Smith or Katie said, yeah, would you come to the ceremony? Of course I would, because that's that's the right thing to do. I'm not asking you guys to ask me though. Don't say no, but them being honored with it to me is good enough for me to see. I don't need to be part of a ceremony. I went and visited Ty's grave, last month when I was in San Diego, and to me, that's how. If I'm going to spend time honoring Ty, it's going to visit him and talking to him. Fuck.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. This is like, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's not something we get into every show. I understand, man. Yeah. I mean, it's
but that's how. And I still need, it's Glenn's buried in Arlington, and I still need to get up there and just visit with him. But that's how I want to remember. Not with that. Not at a ceremony in DC. But I would with the families. Of course I would. I would respect their wishes because they're fucking heroes too. They've sacrificed a hell of a lot, and they've kept their lives going when their loved ones, and Kate even said this about Glenn, that she thought he was invincible. I remember, they really did think they were invincible, and I know they loved him to death. So yeah, I'd do it. I would. I'd go if they asked me to.